Okay, so today, guys, we are back with another episode of Punt or No Punt, and I am delighted to be able to welcome back Mr. DavidKayePoker. Dave, how you doing?
Doing great, Nick. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I know you're a big fan of the show, one of its biggest fans, potentially.
Yes, I've told you multiple times my favorite online poker series on YouTube, and I'm not just saying that to be nice. I genuinely love the series, so it's great to be on again.
It's very high praise, and you've buttered me up to the point where you're back. We did do this a couple of years ago, and if you do want to watch that, it was a pretty good one, I think. So there'll be a link just appearing here by magic, and then there'll also be a link down below. Also linked down below will be David's stream and YouTube channel. Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about those things before we get going?
Yeah, so I have a couple platforms I'm on. I'm on Twitch as well, where I do most of my streaming. I'm on YouTube, and then also Instagram and Twitter. The handle is at DavidKayePoker on all four of those. Try to keep it nice and simple. Just one username to remember if possible. So they were all available, so we just took advantage of that.
And you've had some exciting news since we last had you on. I mean, it's been a while since we last had you on, but, you know, share it with everybody because it's very, very good news. It's very exciting.
Yeah, so since then I've signed with PokerStars, which, you know, as a streamer and content creator, you know, signing with a poker site's like a very big deal. So definitely very excited to partner with them. I've been a fan of PokerStars for a long time, so it's been watching on the live streams, their ambassadors in the past. So kind of cool, like full circle, kind of coming together, becoming a member of PokerStars Team Pro as a online content creator.
I mean, from my perspective, fully deserved. You know, I'm a big fan. I send as many raids as I can over to you, and it's been awesome to see you grow. And yeah, you work really, really hard, and it's super well deserved. So congratulations, buddy. Very happy for you. But that's the last good thing I'm going to say today, hopefully, because we are playing Punt or No Punt. If you don't know the rules, we're playing Punt or No Punt. 5 hands. The contestant will bring on today. It's David, and we'll have a look at them. It will be either a punt or a no punt. Dave is looking for as many no punts as possible, I believe, or no spoilers, but I think you might have lost last time. So he's maybe trying to get a win this time. Yeah. I haven't seen any of these hands before. You happy with that, David? I've not violated the integrity of the game in any way.
I can confirm that, as well as I haven't seen any messages asking what were you doing in this spot. So I feel pretty confident you haven't seen them. I
like to ask those things live. And yeah, disclaimer, guys. David plays 500L mainly on the Michigan pools in PokerStars. You probably would have seen his stream before, guys, but he's a little bit of a better player than me, and I'd like to make that disclaimer before we start, because yes, I am the host and I'm going to be making the decisions. That doesn't mean I think I'm better than everyone I get on. It just means that we're trying to have fun, okay? So just try and have fun. So without any further ado, David, I think that is everything. Are you ready to play Punt or No Punt for the second time?
Sounds good. I'm ready for take 2.
Let's go. Okay, so on our first hand, DavidKayePoker is back. We have Queen 9 of Diamonds. It is folding to the small blind. I would like you to open the action, David, which you do to 3 big blinds, which looks good. We get a 3-bet. Would you like to talk about, I mean, obviously all ranges seem different these days. Would you like to talk about what you're doing in this spot, how often you're doing it, etc.?
Yeah, so I'm just going to be calling the Queen 9 suited pair here. I mean, this is definitely a spot, I think, post-flop where, like, personally, I know I have a lot of work to do because, like, I'm like pretty confident we can call here pre-flop. We definitely get put in a lot of tricky spots, like small blind versus big blind, but I believe going to be a continue here.
Yeah, blind versus blind is definitely my biggest leak, I would say, at the moment. Every time I play it, I'm like, I've just no idea what I'm doing. So we'll both be in that spot here. Queen 9, we've got King 10-7 rainbow. We certainly won't be doing any donking, and we see a small bet from our opponent. I tend to use slightly bigger bets in position after 3-betting here, but this seems fine. You've got like a bit of a close one. You could pretty much do whatever you want here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think that, like you said, there's kind of anything you can do here. You do have, I think having the diamonds is pretty important. So if I have like Queen 9 of clubs, I'm not going to consider check raising.
Yeah.
But if we do have like hearts, diamonds, or spades, it's at least a consideration. I think I'm mainly leaning towards call here. But like you said, I can kind of see an argument for going ahead and putting in the raise if you want to as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think mainly call is good, and definitely mixing in some raise seems absolutely fine. We're going to go for the call, which, as discussed, is very reasonable. Little 7 of diamonds. Now, we could develop some donks here. Do you have any feelings about? I don't know how often you donk bet, David. I do watch you a lot. I'm not sure how you feel about donking this turn. Obviously, a 7 probably slightly better for us. What do you think?
Yeah, so I do a little bit in some spots. I haven't really started using it in like 3-bet pots necessarily. So like single raise pots, I'll use it a lot more.
Yeah.
But I would imagine, assuming that if I did have a donking range, it would be a bit smaller, and then like smaller size. And then if I do it, like I think it would make sense here. And again, this is coming from someone that doesn't do this, so what I'm saying could be incorrect. But I would believe this probably is one that kind of can make some sense to put into there. just because like we do have the additional equity and we don't mind like putting in like say a third bet or even smaller and then getting to the river here.
Yep. Sounds good, but it sounds like you might check, which is obviously absolutely fine. And we get another bet. Well, this is a really shit spot. Would I fold here? Can I fold here? I'm not really sure. What are you leaning towards here? I mean, I guess calling can't. It's really cuspy to me. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think that, like you said, it's tough with calling here because it's like only a gut shot. So it feels very different if you have like queen jack of diamonds. To be fair, you might raise that more on the flop.
Yeah.
So you might not get to the turn with it here as much. As we talked about, like I don't do any donking in these spots, so I'm still going to have my 7x range.
True. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have like my 7-6 and my 8-7. So the fact that this hand has made it to punt or no punt means that I'm not folding here, right? I think it'd be a pretty disappointing start to the audience.
People are going to be turning off if you start folding.
Yeah,
here.
Exactly. We're just going to shut it down. You guys saw the first part of the hand. You decide we didn't make the cut. So, so actually in this spot, I get pretty devious intentions going through my mind of okay, so I'm going to check jam like my 7x here. What about the bluffs? What do we come up with? So having the gutter and the flush draw, I decide.
Are you going to jam?
I'm deciding between jam and call.
Okay. Can you? What do you think about a click back?
Yeah, so clickback's a little bit difficult because I'm trying to think if we click it back. I mean, we're going to like, what is it going to be? Maybe like 270. I mean, I guess it'd be like 250 if we're going in the clickback. To be honest, I'm probably just not using the sizings for clickbacks. Again, not saying that's not correct, right? Like it's definitely me within, but if I'm playing raise here, I'm probably just jamming. So,
okay.
So I'm basically deciding between like a flat, like you said, honestly, you could see fold too, because it is very difficult. The problem is when you're out of position in these spots, it's hard to realize. So like, let's say you hit like your gutter ball or you hit the diamond, especially, like you'll just see them check back their king X a ton here. So it's like, you don't have the implied odds as much as like other spots where it's like, say this is like a brick or it's like a 2 of diamonds. You feel like they're going to bet their king X, the good king X, at least on the river, a lot more. Whereas like some people even check back ace king here. Not saying I would, but just saying like you will see that sometimes if they bet here. So it's like, you don't, especially when you're out of position, you don't get to realize as much. So
I'm concerned about how often we may be shoving here, like, because we're going to have obviously a 7 and then not going to really want to shove like anything like 10s if we had it, if we didn't 4-bet. 10-7, obviously we're not going to want to shove that, I don't think. So basically we're saying we have a 7 and then if we use this flush draw and then all of our other like combo flush draw, I mean combo flush draws, I think they'd be really good. If we're not going to play any small raises, then I guess just shoving combo flush draws and 7x would be good. I'd be worried if using this, we'd maybe just be shoving a little bit too often. Let's just see if we we do go all in. I mean, look, if we're not about developing a donkey mation, we do have all our 7x. That's good. It's just whether aces are above knows that or not, and whether we can back them to fold a king. I mean, they're basically. I'm on the fence about this one, David, but I've got to give you a score. I think it might be a punt. I might use clicks here. It's very close though. This is a super interesting spot because I think I probably would have been like, I'd seen this turn kind of be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to donk and then I'm going to shove the river. But yeah, coming from the perspective of not playing any donks, I guess this is. I'd be concerned that this is underfolded this turn, and I think when you shove, I think you get a lot more. Like less credit as well for a 7. Would you like? Do you think you'd check shove all your 7x here?
Yeah. So again, it's not saying it's correct, but yeah, the 7x I probably have here. Well, I wouldn't do the boats like you said. So like if I have like obviously quads or I have pocket 10s, like I'm just calling those. But as far as like 7-6 suited, 8-7 suited, 8-7 suited, like those would be. But again, that's only 3 hands and only the suited ones, right? I'm not gonna have the offsuit here. So and then like you said, if I have a boat here, I'm never check jamming. I'm just check calling every time. So.
This is tough because, like, I wonder whether because if your check shoves are coming from just purely diamonds, which I imagine they are, and then or as our bluffs, this is really close. I am going to go with punt though. It feels harsh, but like I think I may have clicked or maybe donked, not having an overcard as well, like just like against like king queen. But if we had like maybe ace 9 of diamonds. I don't know. Something just feels not quite right to me, David, and I can't quite put my finger on it. And when that happens, I like to go with punt. But that doesn't mean that we lose.
It does not mean that.
It doesn't mean it at all. I've made a lot of assumptions here. No. Okay. Well, look, we can still win. We don't. We do it. Oh, we might win. We do win.
Yes.
Amazing. I mean, we've absolutely launched it. I mean, okay. I guess with the gut shot, how do I feel? Do I feel this is harsh, David?
I feel like you might feel better now that you see that we get there. You know, it always makes you feel better when you win the $1,300.
I feel really good about winning $1,300. It's just, is the jack additional equity enough? Is min clicking better? Is donking better? The whole thing, I'm just not sure. Like, I really am terrible at blind versus blind, and I just had to go with something. Otherwise, the video is going to take about 5 hours. So I think this is a very cuspy punt, but you know. 8-9 of diamonds, definitely prefer it. Queen Jack of diamonds, definitely prefer it. Concerned about lack of 7.
And I think that's a good takeaway too. Is like maybe if you're not going to use the Queen 9, but you can have like the 9-8 of diamonds and the Queen Jack of diamonds.
Yeah.
Now I'll check raise some of those on the flop, but not pure. So it's definitely I'll still have them on the turn. And like you said, those ones are better just because the additional straight outs of having the open under instead is just the gutter. So I can definitely I can accept the punt just because, like you said, I think that like Queen Jack of diamonds, I think are fine, 9-8 of diamonds, but then this is where it gets a little bit cuspy, where using the Queen 9, it's like, we have a gutter, don't have an overcard, like you said. So and as you said too, like I don't think we're getting like King X to fold a ton here. And do we think people double barrel this board enough as a bluff? I don't know.
Yeah, especially when we have diamonds ourselves. I don't know.
Yeah,
how often they're going to be bet folding this turn.
And they can have Queen Jack obviously too, which is one that we'd want them to have that can have to fold here, which obviously less likely 9-8 all of those. So
look, I think I'm okay with punt. It feels harsh, but then again, I think it's okay. I'm content with the result, but I'm not so content with the play. So punt. All right. But look, we've got 4 more hands. This isn't over. So let's see if we can claw it back with hand number 2. Okay, guys, hand number 2, we've got Ace King. I was very torn between these 2 hands. Still thinking about hand number 1. Honestly, my blind versus blind. If I didn't already know it needed work, I definitely know that it needs work now. I was almost apologizing to you, David, on the break just then, because I just don't, because it feels like I have no, I don't know, man. I just don't know about that one. Anyway, let's move on to hand number 2. Let's put it behind us. We're going for a 3-bet with Ace King, which looks really solid, and yeah, cool. I like the board a lot. Yep. And on this board, are you playing small bets or half pots, or what are we doing?
Yeah, so I'm playing like third here. Would be like my bet size. So definitely like it on this one. I'm not going to give any groundbreaking analysis, but I do like betting with top here. Yeah,
this seems really good to me. Having a diamond is lovely too. Overall, get raised, and yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm concerned about some things and some stuff. Obviously, when we have the ace of diamonds, it makes it like kind of like less likely that people are going to have some flush draws as well as stuff. So I think it like filters them a little bit towards sets potentially in practice, but like obviously we're just calling and seeing what happens. But like I'm much less happy than I was when I was betting the flop. I'm really, really unhappy now. Okay. I wonder whether I mean, no, we can't start folding the turn, but like this is becoming very problematic, obviously, because 5-4 is there. We have the ace of diamonds, which is now a negative blocker rather than positive, because obviously it gave us more equity on the flop, but now it's becoming that we're blocking bluffs. I'm not really sure that you get people raising like random like queen 10 of diamonds here very often. It's possible, but like I think it's probably unlikely. Like it was a lot less likely than obviously 3s and 6s are going to be in there pure. 5-4 is going to be in there pretty often. I'm concerned that they might just not have many bluffs left here. What do you think, David?
Yeah, and I think that's like a big point too, kind of what you're talking about, like with the like thinking about like in these ranges here, like how often are people check raising you on king 6-3 in a 3-bet pot? Yeah, I would argue pretty low. The easy one to find with the bluff here is going to be the ace of diamonds and then 5-4. Yeah, you have those. So clearly 5-4 comes in, and then they can't have the ace high flush draw because we have the ace of diamonds. So it makes it a bit difficult. Even if this is like a king 5-3, I'd feel a little bit better because they can maybe have some like ace 4, ace 2 suited. Yeah. So even though, depending on what suit the 2 or the 4 is, we would either block one combo or not, obviously with having an ace ourselves. But I think that like I would feel a lot better in this spot if it was like a 5 or a 4 or 2 with continuing, because at least we could make the argument that maybe they're doing this with their gut shots and then having an ace that blocks like the ace and the ace king itself. So obviously I do not feel very good. Like I said, this turn card is a pretty bad one. So like if it's a diamond turn, like we feel pretty confident we can call because even if we're behind drawing to the ace of diamonds. But the turn that makes us like the most nervous is going to be like the 7, I would say for sure, just because at this point it's really hard to pick out bluffs. In game, like you said, like I kind of want to fold at this point, but that also feels really tight.
Imagine you're streaming as well, because it's like, you have to explain why you're folding top pair, top kicker, and obviously everyone's very selective with how they choose to attack you on stream. So
yeah, exactly. And I think too, it's like it's very difficult. Like in this spot too, because like I'll have a lot of spots where like I'll call turn and fold river, and I get grilled on this a lot. But it's a lot of like where I think people give up on bluffs on the river quite a bit. So like let's say he has diamonds here, and he ends up like checking river. Or sorry, it's a non-diamond river. A lot of times, like if he somehow had the queen jack or the queen 10 here, like people will just give up on the river a lot because in theory you don't want diamonds. But then at that point, it's like what bluffs are they using? That's where they can kind of get in trouble. But I would say in practice, at least like in the player pool I'm playing, and I think a lot of times people with their diamonds, they'll just, if they decide to check raise flop, they'll bet turn like 100% of the time with the diamonds, and then they'll give up on rivers quite a bit. So like in these spots, I sometimes lean towards call, but again, having the ace of diamonds actually becomes really bad in this spot. And I get worried that like, are we ever actually facing the check raise from queen 10, queen jack, jack 10? Like, I don't know.
If we are, then there's not that many combos anyway left. Like there's probably, you could argue probably 3, I think. Diamond combos.
The only other thing I worry about sometimes here is like some people will play some flats with ace king and then like check raise them on the flop. So like they could be having the same hand as us. But again, when we're talking about what feels like the best case scenario is chopping, it doesn't feel very good. And then it's just like I said, the 7 is just so bad. Like I'd feel so much better on like an 8, 9, 10, like literally any other card. Actually. So.
I honestly think literally any other card is this would be much better than this. Like you said, especially a diamond as well. I honestly wouldn't mind if you folded here and said, look, obviously, do you know what? Even in theory, I'm thinking maybe that this might be really bad. Not to call, but like it might be really bad to have the ace of diamonds. I'm not going to punt you for calling the turn, which is I assume what you do because this is here. But I might punt you for this river. Okay, so you were saying on the turn that you think that people give up diamonds. Do you think that this is a card where they could convince themselves with those diamonds to follow through on because of the 4 straight, or do you think that they still give them up? What
Easty, it's like you were the person on my shoulder talking to me in this hand, because that's exactly what I get to here. Is like, okay, so people will give up diamonds almost always, but these obvious like 4-liners that come in, they will maybe use those as the bluffs. To be fair though, like it's tough because like I don't and what I get to here is like I don't worry about the 4x because it's like what 4x do you have that wasn't already there, right? The 5-4 is the only one. This is again where it's a bit different if this was 6 was a 4 or say like a 2 instead, because I could imagine them actually having like the straight with the wheel coming in on the river if that was like say the 6 is a 4 or a 2 or whatever. So like and I kind of talk myself into the spot too. It's like we're getting a pretty good price, but again, given this line here, it's like, what bluff are we coming up with? And kind of going back to like the idea of us hoping they have like queen jack or jack 10 of diamonds. Like, I don't even know that people are raising those to begin with at like, any sort of high frequency. So it's like getting to the river here. It seems like, calling off is trying to make an excuse to call, which I like to do from time to time.
I love to do that. I love it.
Yeah. And like, they could have this one exact hand, maybe 25% of the time. And I don't want to be bluffed. So, and I think the other problem too is if they have ace king, like I think pretty clearly in this spot, they're just going to check and then decide if they maybe want to bluff catch versus me having missed diamonds. So I think it's no longer the thing where it's like, oh, we actually might be chopping with ace king too. Like I think that kind of goes out the window here on this jam on the river, even if it's not like a huge size. Also, like if they did check raise like 8, 9 of diamonds with backdoor straight backdoor flush on the flop, that's now there as well. So we kind of eliminated even more. Also, they could have like if they were getting really spicy, like they could check raise something like pocket 4s with a diamond, pocket 5s with a diamond on the flop, and then follow that through on the turn. Potentially, that's all now there. I'm struggling to find a reason to call. I'm struggling to find a reason to call. So I might fold. Are you okay with that? I think that sounds like a reasonable take in the moment.
We've called anyway. I'm going with punt if it wasn't clear.
I think we were all sensing that we were going there. Like, as soon as he sees this call, I'm not feeling good for our score today. Unfortunately we are 0-2. But we might win money. It's going to have to literally be Jack 10, Queen Jack, or Queen 10 of diamonds, or a complete
nothing ball, which you don't find very often, I imagine.
Yeah.
And we do lose to a set, which surprises me not.
In hindsight, it doesn't surprise me much either. And as soon as you see it, I'm just like, I think and this is like kind of the spot like you said, it's really difficult. I think I talk myself into call because of that whole like, it's the 4-liner comes in. But like, again, I think even the turn, they just have so few bluffs, which is why this becomes an issue. So like, I mean, what are they? They literally have to be bluffing like those diamond combos we've mentioned a few times. And it's like, are they even check raising those on the flop? At what frequency? It's like, and even like you said, even if they're creative and come up with the 5s of the diamond, 4s of the diamond, like those all hit, and they're all hands that can go for value on this run out for sure. So I think it's just, and it's even worse. Like I said, we don't block the ace high diamonds again, kind of going to that idea of if they decide to bluff diamonds because of the 4-liner. So it's just like, what hand are we beating basically?
I think we're in agreement here. You've sort of brought this on knowing what was going to happen. Didn't even try to convince me otherwise, and just sort of sat there and took it, which I respect.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely hands where I'm just like, sent this one, I'm like not going to make any arguments here. If you would have said this was not the punt, I think I would have been concerned about the integrity of the show.
Yeah, so exactly.
I feel good, and the audience feels good that we don't call this one a punt.
Yeah. Okay. We're definitely going to give this one a punt. We're 0-2, which means you need to win the next 3, David. Are you feeling confident about that?
I feel confident about the fact that the audience is going to enjoy these hands. I don't know if I feel super confident about winning this challenge.
You've sacrificed yourself for the game, which is everyone loves to see. Anyway, let's see if we might be able to claw on back with hand number 3. Hand number 3 with David down 0-2. A hero of punt and no punt. He brings on the absolute bottom of the barrel. And here we go with Queen Jack suited. Don't mind calling, don't mind 3-betting. You got any preferences? I imagine you like 3-betting.
Yeah, so I usually do a lot of 3-betting these spots. I'm probably a little heavier in the 3-bets than is a little optimal in these like split spots, but especially versus like cutoff open. So I'll go for a 3-bet here pretty often.
I'm not going to start complaining about this. I don't think I mix in call with this very often. I do like to play 3-bet pots in position as well. Not the worst board I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. We get a check, which they should be doing all the time, and we have a sizing option. I don't think I'd range bet this one. I'd probably use something like half pot. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this is kind of something I've been working on a lot, is like some of these ace high boards where I used to just use third with like range pretty close to it. And then like these types of boards where it's like the second and third card are like middle and connected, start doing some more half pot. So I think in this spot I go half pot. But again, this is kind of a spot where I'm kind of working on, okay, so which of these ace high boards am I starting to go half and not betting range as much versus like third? So I think I go half here, which I think I like. But I mean, I think realistically, like if you're going third here, it's probably fine too.
Yeah. It's definitely not going to be a disaster by any means. You're obviously going to have all the strong ace X, going to have all the sets. We're going to have lots of straight draws. It's just like whether our like king, queen of hearts type hands and stuff like that. If we have too much of that to start betting small. I think half pot is where I would lean, but honestly, I don't. Either way, I think it's going to be fine. Obviously, they call, which is whatever. 5 of spades. And they check. How do you feel about barreling turn? Obviously, we didn't range bet the flop, so...
So I think in these spots, too, like I said, I do think there's a decent amount of difference. When at least I know when I'm facing half pot versus third. If a lot of players in these spots, I would definitely do a lot more, assuming that they're not, ranging half. Not always in all the spots, but in like a spot like this. Hypothetic, or like technically I would imagine having clubs here is probably not best because we want to block some of like the backdoor float folds here. So like if they have like queen jack of clubs in their spot, like they might call one, but pretty hard to call turn here. If they're gonna have like basically any of those gutters with a club, which I think are pretty reasonable floats for them. So like I feel like as far as suits, this is probably actually a pretty bad one. With that said, having some of the best hands in their range outside of like the obvious like 2 pairs or sets is going to be like an ace queen ace jack, so it's kind of nice to block that. And we do at least have like the 4 outs with the 10, right? And then we also have spots where we can improve to the queen or jack on the river and it goes check check, and we beat like a sticky 9x or 9x of diamonds or pocket 10s that just doesn't want to believe me or whatever. So I think I lean towards liking the bet here, but like I said, if I'm being really picky, I'd probably prefer to have hearts or spades. I think that everything you said is pretty fair, and I don't mind going either way. It's whether we just like have like an annoying amount of... I don't think we have too much equity to be concerned with like bet folding. I think we're just bet folding, like we're happy with that. Whereas if we had something like, I don't know, something that had a little bit more equity, like maybe like king
Jack of diamonds, that bet folding that would feel like horrific. So that might be something you might want to check back. But this would like, okay, whatever. We only had like 3 clean outs anyway, kind of thing. So I don't mind betting at all. And the sizing seems good. And they call again.
Mm-hmm.
And the river is a 4. Doesn't change anything. Obviously, 7-6 is already there. They never have pocket 4s, obviously. Ace 4 is the only thing that changed. So how do we feel about shoving?
Yeah, so I think like my initial thoughts is I liked shoving. So the thing being is like we don't have a diamond, which is good, right? So we're gonna block some of those. Like, yeah. And then as far as like the queen and the jack, it feels pretty good because we block again like the ace, queen, ace, jack, which is some of their better stuff that we're gonna relevantly block that wants to bluff here. So like I said, we're still worried about like the ace 5, ace 4s in particular. Ace king mostly gonna be 4 betting. So like these are a lot of their best top pairs that we block. Yeah. And we don't want to block diamonds. And trying to think of like which hands get to the river here. To me, instinctively, it feels like this is probably one of our better bluffs if we're going to use it. Because if I don't use this one, I'm not really sure like which bluffs I'm coming up with. And, I mean, maybe if we decide that we're going to go nuts with like 7s or 6s, but again, I'm probably going to use the diamond a lot. So if I'm using like 7s or 6s with a diamond, we don't like bluff jamming nearly as much. So I feel like I want to go for this one. So I'll eventually put the jam here.
I think like the jack of clubs is better than it might be in theory as well, because I don't think people do much 4 betting from the cutoff without ace jack suited here. So like having the clubs for the ace blocker, like you said, you should have the ace king should mostly be 4 betting pre. Ace 5 and ace 4 as well. We're going to get looked up by them a lot, but they sometimes should be 4 betting. And then ace 8 and ace 9, I don't think you really see people show up with. So like, we also don't really like once we bet the turn and they call, like it's not like that we're blocking folds in that way anymore, because they're not really going to have like queen jack of like clubs that calls the turn anyway, are they? And then folds the river. So I don't see how we can not be all in after having bet the turn, which I think is fine, and having bet the flop, which has to be fine. I don't think they have like loads and loads of good hands, especially once they just call the turn. I think a lot of people are tempted to go like not with their like ace x region, but like with the 8s and 9s on this particular board that's starting to get like the 5's not, it's a little bit innocuous, but out of position especially, I think you will find some people shoving 8s and 9s here as well on the turn. Because of how connected the board is, they might think, oh, we don't want them to check back ace queen on the river kind of thing, which you may well do depending on the river. So that eliminates a few more possibilities. They don't have loads of good hands. We're going to get snapped off by a straight sometimes, but, we're not trying to get a straight to fold. So no punt from me. I think that this is a fair... Get you on the board, David. It's not just to get you on the board. I do think this is a very reasonable follow-through. And I can't imagine being in this situation on the river and not shoving. So I can't, in all seriousness, give you a punt. And I can imagine myself getting there. So please just fucking fold.
Yeah.
No?
No fold.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for here is to get like called by something that's like, I don't know, ace 10 or something, I suppose, would make me feel good. That makes me feel shit.
Yeah.
Man, that is so... Because we can definitely shove ace, king, ace, queen here. Can't we?
Yeah.
So, and on this river, like, because the river just doesn't change enough. Like, yes, we might bet the turn with ace, queen and then shut down on some rivers, like some diamonds or like 7 of diamonds or something, or like jack of diamonds, but we're not going to shut down on this river with ace queen ace king. This sucks.
Yeah, it's pretty tough too. Shom's actually a reg and a friend of stream, so he'd been owning me for a couple weeks before this hand happened, and it's like just confirmation that I'm owned. It's just like here we are calling you with the pair and the straight blocker. So
I mean,
it's those are tough ones to lose. God,
this really hurts. I mean, it's I guess as good a bluff catcher as any. I mean, it's just bluff catching, right? You're not going to be bluffing any better hands than this. Do you ever, like, when you get called in this spot and you've got like your Poker Stars badge on you and like everyone knows you're streaming, do you ever just think, I just fucking wish I wasn't streaming because I swear I'd get this through.
That's when you have the computer accidentally shut down. Yeah. And that's the good thing with poker streaming, right? You got the delay. If you ever get really upset, you can just like, shut it down a little early. So.
No, but I as well, I mean, like, do you think, because I know that we won't get too much into it, but like, I believe I whenever I get called in this spot, I'm just like, oh, if it wasn't me, they'd never fucking call. No one's ever bluffing in this spot. Like, I'm so salty because like I just assume everyone else is getting folded here, and I'm just getting called because I've got the avatar and the fucking badge. It's just like, oh, whatever. Yeah. But I tried to put that in the back of my mind and follow through as much as I can. Anyway, we've lost another one, unfortunately. Yeah. Oh, we did win the first one, didn't we? But we have won in the game.
We won punt or no punt, which, you know, $1,000 or having a good hand punt or punt, no punt. I don't know. You got to weigh the pros and the cons here.
They're at least close. Yeah. Let's take hand number 4, down 1-2, and see if you can level it up. Hand number 4, looking to level it up. We got ace queen. We're opening up on the button. I'm okay with this, David. We get 3-bet. Pure call, I think.
Yes, I think you can do some like low frequency 4-betting, but I'm basically just playing as a call here.
I think it's very low if it's in there, but it's just so good, like in position against the small blind range. So we call. Flop's okay. Small blind should be playing. I actually know this one. I think I know this one before anyone goes. Actually,
the caveat.
Yeah, I think this is very large bet check for a small blind. So they can use like anything up to pot here. I think is like fine. I might be wrong. I've been wrong before, David. I think this is definitely not right, but I could be wrong as well. What do you think?
Yes, I think this spot with ace queen, like obviously we're not folding, right?
Yeah.
Could consider doing some raising, but again, on these spots, like I don't see the purpose of it too much because they couldn't still have ace king in range, which people just aren't going to fold anyways. And I mean, we're getting 5-1 in position. I feel like we just go for the call here.
Yeah, and this is kind of why this bet size isn't that great because we just have like when we're in this situation, it's like, oh, I call. But if they pot here, it's like, oh god. I mean, I call, but like I hate my life kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas here we don't hate our life. We're actually pretty excited, I would say, about life.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think bigger bets and definitely call. It's good. That is not the king of spades, David.
Not the card I was looking for.
And they go for another like small bet. I'm not sure about this. Like what they're saying that they have in this spot. Because like, are they saying they want to bet a 10? Is that what they're saying? Because I think a jack is just worth more money. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think like as far as like our response here, I think kind of, you know, as far as like obviously the smaller the price, the more often we're going to call here. So I do like calling. Obviously the ace and the queen are going to be clean a decent amount. The king is going to be almost pure unless they have the boats.
Yeah.
And you know, I think in this spot, like our spot becomes pretty simple, just call. But you know, I'm already kind of, you know, based on what you said with the sizing, I think I'm kind of already getting some devious intentions of what to do on some brick rivers. Just because like if we're facing some smaller bets, so I think there's like that additional thought as well. But I think, you know, for the turn here, I mean, we're calling, what is this, 46 into a pot of 232. I think we can just go for a call here and take the river.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do anything else but call this turn. I'm just intrigued by their bet sizes, and I'm wondering what it's telling me. And I think, as same for you, I think I'm feeling devious. I don't think that this is a hand that like that bets $46 here that we show down against right now. So you know, if we don't improve, I don't think we win very often. Like when they check, and I'm expecting them to check a lot when they use these sizings because they're basically saying, you know, I've got like an okay hand, but like it's not amazing kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes. Jack on the river. And they go for another minute bet. This is just so odd. I really don't know what to make of this. Like, what's your read on like this small line here?
Yeah, and I think this is kind of what I get into here is like I eventually start thinking kind of what you said. This feels like a lot of like 10x right now. You know, small size. I don't know that we're beating a lot. You know, just in practice, I think if people are trying to get like say they have like 9-8 here, like they're going to bet bigger at some point. Like just, you know, not saying you should in theory, but just like in practice, I think we're going to face like, and same with like the king 10 here. So I don't think we're really beating a ton. But as far as like, so like I kind of talked about in the turn, like thinking about using this as a bluff on the river. So, you know, I don't think the suits are super relevant here because I think they're going to have ace jack and ace queen the suits are not relevant with like the ace as much because I think they're going to have ace jack offsuit, but it can be relevant with the queen. So like we don't want them to have like queen jack suited. So the spade's not like perfect. In a weird way, I think I'd almost rather have hearts, even though that's the flush draw that misses. But you know, we'd be blocking like queen jack suited. Whereas right now we're only blocking one of the combos with the, you know, so I think that, you know, if we're being really picky there, but I think this is kind of a spot where it's just like, I don't know what theory is going to say, but in the game, I'm just like, this just does not feel like a jack to me. And I feel like I can rep a jack very, very well. Like almost all my jack X is going to take this line. So
I mean,
that's kind of what I'm thinking going to this river.
It's just whether we'd just rather just not have a different queen. I think the ace is whatever because they'll 3-bet ace jack off pre. So in terms of blockers, like the queen is just like not doing anything for us, and the ace is doing some okay things for us. I don't know in practice how good the ace is because I just can't see anybody playing ace jack like this. Like if someone's played ace jack like this, I just don't want to live in that world. You know what I mean? So this feels like really good hands, like that are just locking the board up, or it just feels like ace 10, and it's just like and he might just be like, honestly, I've got ace 10, like really, I do have ace 10, and I wonder if it is just that, and that really makes me want to go all in. But I'm wondering whether we can call. Obviously, the price is amazing. We only need to win like 20% of the time here, but the problem is like based on the small bet. There's no way someone's doing this with ace high. So I just think if we call, we lose. You know, simple as that. And if we call and they've got like pocket nine, it's just going to really piss me off. So I'd probably I probably would be unbelievably tempted to shove and then not shove and call and probably get shown like ace 10 and then just be really tilted. So I don't think I can fault a shove against this like minute bet. And I don't really care about blockers. It's just like, on this river, I'm like, do I expect my opponent to fold enough of the hands that do this? And I think that they probably do. Like, I don't really care about blocking Jack X when they've bet the sizes that don't really look like Jack X. So, you know what, David? I'm okay with it. No pun. Not just for the game. Board. Not just for the game, but just because against these sizes, like, I just can't imagine. Like, please don't show me like ace jack here or fold. Please fold. I think this is very spicy, but like, given that one, I don't think we call and win based on what I've spoken about so far, and two, I don't really care about blockers when you know the jack is whatever because I just don't think they play jack this way, and the small sizes being like, I think generally speaking, just medium strength. I'm okay with it. Exploitatively. Fold. Fuck. Okay, right. I have like 10-9 or something and just own us, I guess. Oh my God. It's gone so badly for us.
It feels so much worse seeing the jack too. I don't know. Like I almost feel like normally you're like, I'd rather just have them have the nuts instead of get like called light. But when I was so convinced he didn't have a jack and then he has the jack, I'm just like, oh, do I even remember how to play poker anymore? Can I hand read at all?
I was like myself.
Yeah, I'm happy to make you feel that way too, because like I was so convinced they just never have a jack here, and I was obviously incorrect.
But like the flop, they should just bet bigger. The turn, your hand's just still really good. Like you can play checks if you want, but like the small bet thing is just so weird. I mean, to be fair, David, he's had both of our pants down. So, I mean, what can we say? Congratulations, I guess.
He's like, I've seen this guy stream before, and I know if I do this, he's going to do something stupid. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to win $1,000. So here literally. We go. I mean, here's the payment.
He is literally just bet small to induce, and it's worked. So, unfortunately, we lose another stack, but we don't lose the punt or no punt. And we are 2-2 going into the last hand, which you have requested to put last. So, I'm expecting some fireworks. I'm really pleased with the quality of the hands that you brought in today, by the way. If you were concerned at all about, you know,
I'm always concerned about that, so that's good to hear. The first four are good. Hopefully, the fifth one's even better.
No, I'm a big fan of these. This river, yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm fine. Let's go on to hand number 5 and see if you can put it all the way back, David, for 3-2.
That would be a great comeback right there from 0-2 to 3-2.
I'm rooting for you. Let's go. Okay, so hand number 5. And we are back with another Queen 9. The first Queen 9 didn't end well for you in terms of punt or no punt, but it did monetarily, it did go quite well. We're going to open it up to $11, which is fine. We're back up against Shome, who got us last time. I am going to be using that information for this hand. I like that I've got a few of these similar dynamics in my pool, so I like that I can sort of enter your mind a little bit in that way. We do flop top pair. And Shome should just check. And, you know, don't mind whatever you want to do here. I probably would overbet and check here, but like I know a lot of people don't do that. So I'd probably end up checking this hand. But if you whatever you do here is probably just fine. Like there's lots of strategies that work here. What are you up to in this spot?
Yeah, so I'm probably using like a lot of like, could use like half pot or 75 or check. Basically, I think you can kind of go either way with these kinds of boards. With Queen 9 specifically, like more likely to bet the ones that have the backdoor flush draw. So like obviously we can't have spades, but like hearts and clubs, and then diamonds going to do a lot more checking. But really I'm still gonna have some checks with the hearts and clubs too. So it's some betting, some checking here.
Okay. I mean, that seems reasonable. If you're going to start betting like 75% pot, then this is going to make it in more often than it does in overbet, obviously, naturally. I like check. Gives a bit of rope to our opponent. When I'm in this spot and I've checked back the flop and it's this player, I'm probably going to be very sticky. That's what I'm mainly thinking. I'm sure you're thinking the same. Like this is going to be one of your best hands that you check, right? So, I'm excited about this.
Quite the development.
This is a great turn card. I mean, obviously Ace King gets there, which we are the only one that can have it. They should check a lot again, which they do. And I think we just have so much equity at this point that we just want to put some money in the pot. So yeah, money seems good. I don't mind like anything up to like pot seems fine. What do you want here?
Yeah, so I think this is a spot where, like you said, definitely want to be betting, particularly when we check the flop and, just pick up any additional more equity. We want to build the pot for the times that we do hit it. So I think here I've been using a lot of 3/4, been looking to use some more pot in these spots. So a lot of spots I kind of navigate is like, okay, here's the board, here's the action. I'm either using this size or checking. So I've been working on some like bigger sizes, but like for the moment, using a lot of 3/4 here if I bet. So, and like we said, I think this is a pretty mandatory bet once we check turns. So
I can't say anything about this so far. This seems good. Getting raised, like honestly, I'm really excited. Like all I want to do is see the river. Like I'm so excited to see the river, and then I'm just going to brick, and I'm going to be really sad. But like, they're using quite a large raise size here. It looks like. I mean, I'm really bad at playing in dollars, but like, it makes sense, right? Because you're basically saying, I don't care that you've got Ace King in your range. Like I'm still really happy about my hand, which is odd. Like they should have so few raises here, given that, and you'll obviously have some Ace King that checks that flop. In terms of nut advantage, they're really struggling. But in terms of our actual hand, we can do nothing but call, and we probably wouldn't play any 3-bets. Maybe we would, but
yeah. And I think it's in their shoes here too. It's kind of interesting because, like you said, they don't have Ace King. They actually don't have a lot of the sets either. So they're not going to have queens, jacks. I wouldn't expect they have tens either. So it's like it's basically like they have like King 9, 9, 8, or pocket fours, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's I would imagine playing very few raises. And then obviously it's kind of interesting too, because we do block some of like their big combo draws. Like let's say they have like Ace 9 of hearts and they decide to go crazy with it. Like we would block them from having that. So alarm bells go off a little bit. Obviously our specific hand, just like we're never folding this one. So it's not like a hard decision point on the turn. I just think it's, like you said, trying to think through like what their raised range is going to look like here is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, while we do block Ace 9 of hearts, we also do block King 9 and 9, 8. So, it is neutral. Our hand's really good, David. I want it to get better, but I assume it doesn't because it's punt or no punt. It doesn't. They're going to go all in. They don't go all in. Are you going to go all in?
Well, this is punt or no punt, so there's a hypothetically potential.
All right, let me think about this. I probably would just call is my first port of call. But let me just think about this a little bit. They bet 2/3 pot, and we are in the bin here. I mean, Jack 10, Queen Jack, pocket fours. Like, can they shove stuff like pocket fours? They should have maybe a little smidge of pocket tens. Would they shove? I feel like they would just shove 9-8 and King 9. That's my thought. But I don't know. Oh, God, this is so weird because do I expect even this player to like bluff this board when we can have so many good hands? It makes me think they're going to be stronger than normal. What are your thoughts when you see this bet? Are you like, fuck you, I've got Ace King, you don't have Ace King, like you don't have any sets, like I block King 9, I block 8-9. Is that what you're thinking?
I think the hard thing is like trying to think of what bluffs they're going to have taking this line. So like, I just can't come up with one really. Cause like, I think now that it's like, if I'm going to think of one, it's like Ace 9 of hearts it's some sort of 9 that has a straight draw. I mean, maybe like they have like 9-7, but again, like we block those. So I think it's gonna be a lot of value here. Now the question is like, how thin we think they're going for value raise on the turn. I don't think they're going to raise Jack 10. Even Queen 10 would feel pretty marginal. just because of like kind of the properties we talked about of like I have a lot of the nuts in range. They don't. I think they can have queen jack and fours, which, you know, when you're like, hey, I don't think this guy's bluffing, but I actually kind of want to make him fold. As far as like, I think it's a pretty tough spot for him to call fours here. And then I would think too, like with queen jack, even it's pretty hard. The 9 is nice. So again,
the 9's really good.
Hearts, yeah, the 9's really good. So it blocks the queen 9 and the 9-8.
Yeah.
In theory, you don't want hearts, but again, like what 9x that has, you know, some values be able to call a turn check raise that then misses river. So other than hearts. So my thoughts in game were, like I said, I have ace king in range. I have queens and jacks pure, which they don't have any of. Like you said, they might have a small amount of tens. We're obviously gonna have a much higher frequency of it. And then it's like if their best hands are 9-8, king 9, I block both of those. And then I think I can get him to fold like if he has queen jack here or fours. Also instinctively, kind of what you said at the sizing here, I was thinking in game, it's a pretty big shove. It's a little 2x pot. So like I do think we'll see some bets from people that aren't all in. I guess it is 2x pot. Sorry, I'm the effective stack, but I think in these spots, this just feels like sizing wise is going to be made up a lot of that queen jack and fours. And I think if I jam here, he is going to fold. So like this is a spot here. If I'm playing against like a recreational, I'm not going to try and make them fold queen jack or set of fours because they're just going to throw the money in a lot of time. But versus another reg, like I get a little more interested in trying to jam here, and I feel like he's going to fold everything that's not a straight. So like basically the king 9s and the 9-8s here.
Yeah, I got a few thoughts. This is a really interesting hand. I'm just glad to be a part of it, really. Yeah, in general, number one kind of rule that I'm sort of following at the moment is I don't like to get people to fold strong hands. Don't like to ask them to fold strong hands, especially with a dynamic. It feels like everyone will just go, oh, cool, because I've seen you do this before. And it's like, oh, okay, well, brilliant. At the same time, we do want to play just solid poker. That is, you know, the core of everything we're trying to do is just we're trying to play well. We're not trying to make too many assumptions about what people are and aren't doing. They are struggling for the nutted hands. We do have them all. That doesn't mean that we can just do whatever we want. We do still want to have obviously very positive blockers to our opponent's calling range. On the off chance they are betting 2/3 pot here with king 9, 9-8 because they don't have the nut advantage, then having a 9 is really, really good. I like it in the sense that I do think they might shove those. Therefore, when they do bet this river, they might either have 2 pair or sets more often. And 2 pairs and sets here are, I mean, it depends. Are you shoving queens and jacks versus this bet?
Yeah, that's the really tough one here. I think I would probably, it's tough because queens and jacks are basically the same thing, right? Because it's like, if I have jacks, it's not like he has queens in range. I think given the action, I'm probably leaning towards just a call because I'm making the same assumption of I think he's going to fold queen jack and fours. So like, you know, and even 10s, like he might fold here. So it's like, what worse am I? It's one of those spots where it's like, we're most certainly good, or not most certainly, but we're good. We're going to be good most of the time when he bets river. But like if we jam, what range calls, right? So like, I think with the sets, I would just honestly just call it. And then I would jam like my ace king, my 9-8 and my king 9.
Yeah, I was asking
even 9-8 feels like it's super nitty, but like, I would jam it, but it's kind of the same thing of like, if I don't think he's calling sets. Yeah. So like, I think he's like, you know, calling, if I think he's only calling like straights or better, it's not like the greatest thing in the world, but I do think that he'll still sometimes call with those hands. Which is, so like you said, I would have to jam 9-8, but then like even sets of queens here, I'm probably checking, to be honest, or just calling. Sorry.
Yeah. The reason I asked about the queen jack, like if you're shoving queens, then like if I think he shoves king 9 and 9-8, these are assumptions and I don't know how true they are, but maybe he only uses his sizing. If he shoves those, then it becomes that this sizing becomes like a lot of like queen, jack, and 4 heavy. And then if we don't shove sets, he has just nothing that blocks our shoving range. He kind of really needs to have a king here when he calls. And apart from king 9, he doesn't really have a king. So I think it's gonna be really difficult for him to call. But then again, with the dynamic, do I ever expect them to do much folding? I would say in this spot, we're just gonna have to use our very, very best bluffs. I wonder whether that's king jack, whether we'd rather have a 9 or whether we'd rather have a king. They seem pretty neutral, I would say. They seem pretty neutral because the 9 does block 2 straights, whereas the king only blocks 1. So maybe the 9 is just better. And if we're gonna have to bluff sometimes because we are gonna have the absolute nizzies sometimes, obviously. Not even like sometimes, like a pretty good amount of the time when we bet call the turn and then shove the river.
Yeah.
Do you know what, David? You're going to win this one.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to win.
The comeback's complete.
Yeah. this is I can't punt this because I mean the only thing I could punt it for is this like, okay, you can never bluff here. If we ever bluff here, this feels like a hand that you want to shove. The only slight reservation I have is that if we do want him to fold like Queen 10 or Queen Jack, then we block folds with the Queen. But we don't live in a perfect world. I don't know what the perfect bluff would even be here, and this has got to be close to it. I love the heart. I love the commitment. I love you, as you already know. No fucking punt. No punt. I'm not doing it. No punt. How do you feel?
I feel great. I mean, have you ever had a comeback down from 0-2 to be 3-2?
Do you know what we may not have done?
All right.
We may not have done.
Like setting records here today on Punt or No Punt.
I don't even think that many people have ever won. But to be honest, you've not won because you brought on like, you know, you just won because I'm just enjoying the spiciness of everything going on. You've not won because you brought on easy hands. So I think people are going to be okay with this result. I don't. They're never okay. The comments are always the comments. But you know what? Just fold for the boys. Show them. Don't own it again. And if they call, I would really like to see them have a king in their hand. And I just don't see how they do apart from King 9. If they have King 9, I don't. It's whatever. It just means that our bluff is good, I think. Fuck's sake. Just don't call like Jack 10. That would suck. Okay, whatever. Like, they have a straight. I mean, they have a lot of straights with 9. They defend 9 it off, don't they? But we had a 9. We went for it. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm still okay. Like after the results, I'm still fine with this score. You've won. You have won.
Comeback is complete.
We lost a lot of dollars today, but it was well worth it.
Yeah, we might have lost like, you know, 2,500 or whatever. Well, no, I think I the other Queen 9, the first one I won.
We won that one, yeah.
But we made good content on YouTube, you know?
We did.
You know, you got pros and cons again.
Yeah, it's all about the content. Every time I lose a pot, it's all about just silver lining of the content every single time. But regardless of how many dollars we've lost, you have won Punt or No Punt. Let's go and do a quick outro just to get your feelings about being one of the only people ever to do so. So in true Punt or No Punt fashion, even though David did win Punt or No Punt, he did lose his pot, and we are going to push over the $1,000 over to Shome, who has got a few of our dollars today, but that's okay. Couldn't go to a nicer bloke, I imagine, David.
Yeah. Hey, friend of stream, good guy in chat, good player, you know?
Yeah.
It's not going to be my money, might as well go there.
Yeah. That is definitely not the attitude I have. Anyway, we have lost, but David, we have won. In actuality, we've won. And how does it feel to have actually won?
I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect coming into today. You know, it's you get down 0-2 early, you know, you're not feeling the best. I know we've got a couple, you know, a lot of these hands I felt like were pretty borderline today, so I didn't know which way it would go. And starting 0-2 didn't feel very good, but
they had you in the first half.
Ever so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite memes. They had us in the first half.
Yeah.
But they didn't see the second half.
We got there. I mean, I think these are really interesting hands. I'm really glad that you brought them on. And yeah, I've been excited to do this for a long time, this one, to get you back on the show. Obviously a huge fan of yours, and I really appreciate you bringing on some proper weaponry to the show and coming out of the victory as well. So yeah, awesome, dude. Keep up what you're doing. Thanks for coming on. So
yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. And like you said, I'm a huge fan of yours as well. The Punt or No Punt show is my absolute favorite. I always be sure I tune into those. So
let's get you a trophy, man.
In the future.
I
know. I'll have to get a trophy, like the Punt or No Punt trophy champion.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little something in the background.
It's not quite a W coup, but it's like, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't been able to win the big tournament series, so you know that'll probably make up for it, right? Like, who needs a W coup or like a scoop title when you can just have the Punt or No Punt trophy?
Yeah, just link this in your chat, and that's all you need. Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it, and maybe in the next few years we'll get you back on again for a three-peat. But yeah, that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have done, then please do like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I will see you guys on the next one. We do have some more guests lined up for Punt or No Punt. They are rather hard to unearth, these guests. They're very busy people, but I'm going to keep badgering them for you because I think they're going to be good. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Yeah, take care. All the best.